Hey guys, Steve here, Fanatic Perspective, Championship Sunday. We end up with the Patriots and Eagles Super Bowl. Those are the two left standing after two very different championship games we saw today. I'll start with Patriots Jaguars, which was a very exciting game. I thought it was played at a very high level. Obviously, the Patriots coming back due to Tom Brady and Bill Belichick's greatness, and coming back and securing the victory, not just to tie, but to actually go ahead on the Danny Amendola touchdown late in the fourth quarter. That game was very, very interesting. I thought Jacksonville kind of dominated on both sides of the line of scrimmage. At the point of attack, I thought they were the more physical football team. Obviously they let a lot of big hits. The controversial hit, Barry Church on Rob Gronkowski. Some people thought it was a hit on him, or he took him out, a cheap shot. I mean, to me, I saw Richard Sherman's tweet. The target area is very questionable, especially with the player, that has been hit low before in Gronk and been injured. So I'm not really sure there, but very, very physical football game. But the Patriots responded as they always do. The Patriots made adjustments as they always do. And one of the things, if anybody that listens to me talk about football on this channel, I consistently hammer home in-game adjustments, having a feel for the game, instincts, not just staying to the status quo. And that's why Bill Belichick he's putting himself, starting to separate himself in the conversation for being the greatest coach of all time at the pro level. The same way I talked about Nick Saban and some of the things that Alabama did on the collegiate side of things. You're seeing the same thing with the New England Patriots. They come into the fourth quarter down 10 points. They're getting manhandled on the line of scrimmage, and they make several slight adjustments and things throughout the game that they were keying on, that they started to really have success with. One of the things, if you notice, you're watching the game, they did a lot of wheel routes with the Jacksonville linebackers. And the Jacksonville linebackers are very, very fast, and they're good cover guys, but it's very difficult to consistently win on those routes as a defense. It's so hard to cover routes like that. They still took their shots over the top to challenge the middle of the field, to keep guys like Jalen Ramsey and Boye honest. But in high pressure moments, they targeted linebackers and safeties, and those guys got exposed heavily in coverage. They really stayed away from the outside. They were strategic because they did hit some comeback routes to Brandon Cooks and even a couple ones over the middle, Amendola on deep square ends. But for the most part, they really isolated the linebackers and the safeties and made them uncomfortable. They adjusted well enough to the Jaguars' pass rush. And I thought Jacksonville ran out of gas a little bit, started holding, started getting a little chippy. They're a very emotional team, very young team. And I thought their inexperience came forward in the fourth quarter. It looked like if you were watching that game, you didn't know anything about those teams, you would have thought Jacksonville is a more talented team. And really, man for man, they might be. They're just young and they don't have that experience. They don't have Tom Brady. Because as well as Blake Bortles played today, and Blake Bortles, those of you who are fans of his, should be very, very proud of what he was able to do today. But you still saw the limitations. Ball's just slightly behind guys, not getting the ball over somebody. A couple missed throws, even though his stats are excellent. Again, if you hadn't watched the game, you look at the stats, you're like, Blake Bortles played terrific. And watching the game, he was fine, but it's not good enough to beat a Tom Brady, especially when Tom Brady gets in that 2-minute drill type of offensive mentality. And then that 3rd and 9 at the end of the game, I mean, you can't give that up. If you want to be one of the special defenses, you have to try to get the ball back to your defense. If you're Jacksonville, also thought those pass interference calls were very costly. The first one, the one in the first half against Boye, I did not agree with that on Brandon Cooks. The one on Jalen later in the game, I thought that was legitimately pass interference. But the Patriots, again, there's a reason why They continue to dominate the NFL. There's a reason why Bill Belichick is the GOAT. And to me, it's the ability to adjust, the ability to coach up personnel, to make to get guys ready when you lose people and all that. And the Patriots losing a Julian Edelman, all the linebackers and some of the defensive personnel they've lost over the season. They lose the one freak that they had, and I cited this in my video last week. They had one freak compared to the multiple freaks that Pittsburgh had. They lost their guy once Barry Church clapped him, and they adjusted. They get the ball to James White. They get the ball to Dion Lewis. They get the ball. Danny Amendola all of a sudden has a big game. They realize, all right, let's try to get the matchup there. They never give up. And as somebody who, do I like the Patriots? No. I don't root for them. I typically root against them. But at the same token, I respect the greatness. I respect what Bill Belichick and Tom Brady bring to the table. And there's nothing, I can't even be mad at that. That was an outstanding effort, and Jacksonville has to learn from that. I still think they're and if you're a Jacksonville fan, very bright future going into the offseason. You may have to look at Alex Smith at quarterback or Kirk Cousins if they can afford him. I think Drew Brees is going to be back in New Orleans, but and if not, you can always go back to Bortles. I mean, it's not the end of the world, but I do think when you get in those situations where you do need to rely on drop back passing game, which at some point you do. We saw that today. I'm getting ready to go into the Minnesota stuff. You do still, quarterback play still does matter. I know a lot of people have been saying you can make it to the Super Bowl with anybody. And no, that stuff like that still does matter. And again, Blake played very, very well today, but it wasn't good enough. New England goes to Minnesota in 2 weeks to play in the Super Bowl. Speaking of Minnesota, they had an opportunity today to play a home game in the Super Bowl, and they went to Philadelphia and got annihilated. They got off to a great start, up 7-0, and then the pick six, and that pick six, to me, I thought the game was over after that. Patrick Robinson, obviously, Chris Long gets the deflection, or hits Case Keenum. It's a deflected ball, and what I loved about that play, again, as a Cowboys fan, it sucks that the Eagles are going to the Super Bowl, but again, you got to respect it. But what I loved about that particular play is every man on the Eagles defense coming to block downfield to get him into the end zone. You don't see that very often at any level of football. The great teams are the ones, again, the little attention to detail to get him in the end zone there was critical. It sent the link through the roof. People couldn't hear themselves, and it was just sheer chaos after that. Next thing you know, the Eagles are blitzing from all three levels of the field, and it was chaos after that. And one of the things I was concerned about going to this game again, this is why you guys should subscribe to this channel, because I try to break these things down as simple as I see them. I trust my football eye. I've been watching this for a long time. And I told you guys last week, I don't feel comfortable still with Case Keenum against the blitz. I like Case Keenum, but he's a little shaky against the blitz. And that got exposed big time today. Not that anybody on Minnesota played really particularly well on the offense, but I felt like that was a weakness that the Eagles could key on, and they won the game right there. Let alone all, the success they had offensively when Nick Foles, obviously, 3 touchdown passes, huge day. But the safety blitz, not identifying properly where people are coming from, and then once they get in your face, trying to get rid of the football too quick, and it's either a throwaway or as we saw, a couple of interceptions. So that game got away from Minnesota, and they didn't have the dogs to catch up. And if you have to give credit to this Philadelphia Eagles team, losing the quarterback, middle linebacker, left tackle, a couple other guys, and they kept on trucking. And now we have a Philadelphia New England Super Bowl. If you're a Cowboys fan like myself, this is tough, because New England could get their 6th championship and pass the Cowboys, or Philadelphia could get their first title, and now we can't hold that over their heads anymore, which I've done my entire life, and I would like to continue to do. So I will be rooting for the New England Patriots in the Super Bowl. But I have to give credit where credit is due. Philadelphia handled their business. I did think that they would key on that nobody believes in us mentality. They earned the number one seed. It's funny, guys, both number one seeds made it to the Super Bowl, but the Cowboys had the number one seed last year and lost in the first game. But that's neither here nor there. Home field advantage matters, and when people are doubting you for whatever reason, you can key on that and motivate your team and in your organization to go further and achieve your goals. And you saw that today with the Philadelphia Eagles. You know, you can't give anything but credit to their organization. And, you know, lastly, going into the Super Bowl, I do think New England's going to win the game. Because I don't think Philadelphia, as great as they played at the Link, being at a neutral site, I don't think they'll be able to draw from that raw energy they get. This game today reminded me a lot of that 44-6 game where Brian Dawkins crawled out of the locker room and scared the hell out of Tony Romo and the rest of our offense. We had no chance. That game reminded me a lot of that today, that energy. I don't think they'll have that type of energy in the Super Bowl, especially against a team where they'll be able to adjust a lot better to their blitzes. Tom Brady's not going to get as rattled against that stuff like that. I think Rob Gronkowski will be able to play. And I think Belichick will, again, figure out a way to deal with Nick Foles and the Eagles offense and keep it to a minimum. Because today was the first game that they really clicked like that with Nick. They've been good, but they haven't been where they were with Carson. Today was the first game where you felt like that as an Eagles fan. I don't see that moving forward in the Super Bowl. I think Belichick, even with limited personnel, is going to be able to kind of keep that at bay enough for Tom to get maybe 28 points on the board. And probably win Super Bowl, I would say 28-17 right now, you know, without, you know, knowing injury reports and stuff like that. But, yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people you're going to hear a lot of complaining about the Patriots being there. Oh, this is you know, they're here again. It's the same teams every year. Blah blah blah. Well, somebody else in the AFC has to do something about that. I mean, that's incumbent. There's 15 other teams in the conference. Somebody has to step up and stop them, and nobody's done that. Brady and Belichick have been the gold standard, not just in the AFC but in the NFL, and that's going to continue to be the case until you see other smart coaching staffs and organizational decisions to do enough to stop these guys. I mean, they're ahead of the curve in player development, player personnel decisions, and all these things. And until you see another organization catch up with it, all these other organizations are flipping coaches and can't decide who their quarterback is. I mean, look at the AFC East that he's played in and the quarterbacks. The next best quarterback's probably been Chad Pennington since he's even been there. So, I mean, is that the league's fault? Or, I mean, whose fault is that? I mean, I don't know. But I wrap this video. I got the Patriots over the Eagles. Congratulations to both organizations. And, you know, please let me know what you guys think in the comments about today's games and who you got in the Super Bowl. We'll have some more content going forward in terms of Super Bowl coverage as more things come out. And I'm working on my first mock draft to share with everyone. Hopefully I can get it out this week. But continue to like, share, and subscribe. And thanks for visiting Fanatic Perspective.